Another week, another episode of The Backcourt. We've got a massive show again for you today, talking all things sledging to wild weather and, of course, feeling old. And thankfully, your friend of mine, producer Liv, is back again in the hot seat. Liv, it's been a bumper weekend, just a weekend. And it's exciting to be back here talking all things netball and things around the edges with you.
It is. Massive weekend in netball. The Super Netball season, it's getting pointy.
It is
pointy
getting
end
pointy.
of the season.
Yes.
And I would have thought locally it is also getting pointy.
Yeah, I would say all seasons are getting pointy. Doesn't matter where you look, things are getting pointy.
It's getting pointy.
How was your weekend? First, just to break the ice here.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
Bit of social stuff, Friday and Sunday. Went down to Phillip Island for Saturday night, which was lovely. It's whale season down there at the moment.
Whale season? What,
Yeah.
just like to look at them or any particular thing?
The whales come through the bay at this time of season.
Penguins
So
as well or no?
Well, there's penguins.
Are they all year round?
All year round,
There you
yeah.
go. Well, there you go.
Anyway.
That's a little plug there for Phillip Island.
Some small talk for you.
Exactly.
How's your weekend, Matt?
How was my weekend? It's always good, my weekend. Shout out to the Canterbury Cobras, another win for the boys. Obviously getting weekly mentions on the show.
How is that temporary replacement contract going for you?
Yeah, it's going well. I'm getting a bit addicted, but I'll have to pull up stumps pretty soon.
How many more games have you got?
I think personally, my wife says one. I think could be up to 6 or 7.
Yeah.
We'll see how we're going. I really enjoy it.
And where are they playing you?
Where are they playing me? Full forward. Kicked another 4 on the weekend. We'll have to put one of my celebrations on the socials. We've got to get going. I could talk about myself for ages, Liv. We all know that. Before we get into the actual show, we've got some big news. We floated last week. We said last week that pubs and pub trivia, how hard could it be, Liv? How hard could it be? Well, we've taken the mantle and we've said we're going to run with it. So we've got a special announcement. The Backcourt will be hosting its own pub trivia night, Thursday night trivia on July 31 at the Royal Saxon in Richmond. So if you're out of state, you'll have to book your flights now. It'll be obviously the Thursday leading into the Super Netball Grand Final. There'll be big prizes, silly awards, special guests, and plenty of laughs, and all wrapped in, of course, with social netball questions, footy netball stuff, and pub vibes. So if you want to get involved, head to our social media. That's where you'll find more information. But it's very exciting, isn't it, Liv?
There you go. Very exciting. What a way to kick off Grand Final week in Melbourne.
Exactly. Well, you come from interstate and you think to yourself, what should I do with my Thursday? And it'll be go get a Palmer or Palmy or whatever people call it and watch us talk some dribble up the front. Sounds like a dream to me. We'll move on straight into things that caught our eye. On social media this week, we posted, and it went very well, we reposted something from the Timboon Demons, who play in the Warrnambool and District Football Netball League, and it was their game where the rain was coming in sideways, rain and wind, and they played through. Now, this was topical not only because we love giving a shout-out to local netball clubs, Liv, but topical because you were complaining in a group chat that on Wednesday when it was bucketing down in Melbourne, you still had to play social netball.
Well, I didn't play. We
didn't play.
no-showed. We didn't show up. But this is really rich coming from a man who plays cricket.
Yes.
Where you don't play if there's the slightest bit of precipitation on the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
it's dangerous.
Exactly. Right? So interesting coming from you. But yes, it's only Wednesday night netball, right? And yeah, so no netball for me last Wednesday, but good on the people at Timboon Demons for doing what I couldn't do and getting out there on the court. But
so you did want to pull out because of a little bit of a light drizzle. But these ladies were playing in the rain wasn't even hitting the ground. That's how strong the wind was.
We're also talking about very different leagues.
Yes.
Like this, that's an actual that's registered sport versus
they're playing for sheep stations.
I'm playing for pay to play, rock up, and
Yeah,
possibly go to the pub afterwards. So you only sort of do it if you're going to have a little bit of fun. And my idea of fun is certainly not doing an ACL the week before running a half marathon.
Yeah, well more on the half marathon to come. More on the so what goes around in the group chat? Like when does the sort of raindrops, work stops vibe start coming through?
Well, it was the weather was disgusting on Wednesday afternoon, so there was a bit of a build up to it. And I actually live not far from the netball court, so I dropped over and
just did a bit of a test.
Yeah, just did a bit of a recce.
Yeah.
And they had everyone inside but they were waiting to make a call on whether the games were going to go ahead.
Oh, so they can still call off the games. They don't make you play in the rain.
They just hold you there hostage.
This is after being held hostage on a boat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So they had everyone hostage inside and will they play, won't they play? And our game wasn't for like an hour and a bit when I went over there to check. So I just went home and I messaged the gang and they were all like, everybody was not really that interested in playing.
They wanted you to make the call.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I said, not happening, not for me. I'm having a hot shower and getting into bed.
Well, there you go. So it looks like you made the right point. You only lost, 2 points?
I think they give you like a 10-0
Oh, so
forfeit.
probably, yeah.
But we've already made finals, so feeling pretty smug.
Put your feet up.
Yeah.
Put your feet up.
Taper mode. We taper harder than we train at the Blue Ballers.
Of course, we asked people on social media what were the conditions they've played in that have been so ridiculous. So we have a couple here. We've got 4. We've got one from Grace who grew up in Cooma and they regularly played in snow and they also played on grass courts on frosty mornings, so many stains. I didn't know we played on grass courts in Australia.
Well, there's no rules, is there?
Well, obviously not. I've seen it done before. Playing in snow would be ridiculous. Like, it's just surely you call it off for snow.
Surely. The rule used to be if there's lightning.
Yes.
But surely snow fits into the same category as lightning. I don't know. That's a bit odd. And then Emily, she told us that she had a 7-minute quarter that started in sunshine, then drizzle, then torrential rain, then hail, but then it ended in sunshine.
It has to be Melbourne.
I was going to say it has to be Melbourne.
Obviously. Surely, I guess again, hail's another one. Have you ever played sport in hail?
It was literally hailing on Wednesday night.
Yeah. Have you ever been caught in hail?
No, because I have been caught in hail.
Yeah.
But what about you, Matt?
Well, I've never been caught in hail. Well, I have been caught in hail back in primary school. There was a hailstorm back in 2003. And that was as close as I've been to snow. No, but I umpired a game of junior footy once as a university student trying to make some cash. And it was raining on half of the ground, so going long ways on half of the ground. Because obviously the rain has to stop somewhere. And it just happened to be that football ground.
So which is it like raining on long ways half the ground? Or?
Long ways. So like one whole side of the ground.
That's kind of perfect, right? Because
then
so
I just stayed in the middle.
It's also even, right? Because both teams have got a sunny side of
exactly. Yeah.
End.
You're not kicking into the rain. Yeah. So I just umpired from the sunny side and the parents weren't very happy with me. But to be honest, I was hungover and it was an under 14 game. They'll all get over it.
And otherwise you just spend your time playing cricket where you don't even touch the field.
Well, that's why cricket's such a good sport. There's just hard and fast rules. None of this we'll have to check. Producer X has told us they used to play in London. They played in sleet and snow. So obviously playing in snow is just the thing.
What is sleet?
Sleet's like, I think it's just like a really thin snow. Yeah. I'm getting nods. It was 1 degree and they had to put in their teammates' cycling gloves at half time to restore dexterity in their hands. I haven't said dexterity on the pod yet. Did you take the gloves off after half time or did you play in them? I didn't know. Cycling gloves I didn't think would be that thick.
Some girls play in gloves though in netball to try and if you've got nails that are longer.
They should get the Travis Cloak glove. Do you remember that? When it was on the footy show, they thought it was illegal. Because he had sticky.
Oh, yeah,
But it wouldn't work. I guess in netball, you got to shoot the ball too. You don't want it to be too sticky.
No. And then we had Katrina.
Hurricane Katrina.
Katrina. She played through a thunderstorm because the league rule was that they would only stop after the second strike of lightning.
Yeah.
So what if the first strike hits could have got Katrina?
Well, they keep playing.
Yeah.
Well, we've got to have 2 because lightning doesn't strike twice, famously, Liv. So I guess if it strikes the netball courts and no one's hurt, just keep playing because it definitely won't strike again.
There you go.
Yeah. No, thanks, of course, to the listeners for getting involved. We love our listener DMs and communications. Moving on into tennis. Now, again, it's not a tennis podcast, but tennis plays on courts. So there's a link there. There was a bit of beef between 2 players here at the Bad Homburg Open, which I haven't heard. Are you a tennis person, Liv?
I am during AO season.
Yeah. So like everyone.
Yeah.
So you've not heard of you're not a Homburg Open fan?
Can't say I have.
Right. So Kazakhstan's Yulia Putinetsova was told nobody likes her by Greece's Maria Sakkari. So Sakkari beat her and then they came together and the Kazakhstan Yulia, she didn't want to congratulate her basically and gave her a very weak, limp handshake. Maria took offence to that and said, respect me like a human being, to which Putinetsova replied, and this is all via ABC Sport, I was being like a human being, look at yourself. And then Sakkari replied, nobody likes you. When you shake hands, look the other person in the eye.
Jesus. And who won that game?
I believe Sakkari defeated her, yes.
Yeah,
okay. Yulia didn't want to congratulate her on winning.
Right, got it.
So a bit of beef there.
Beef.
We definitely don't see that in netball.
I think there's something else going on under the surface there.
Well, because you would have played a bit of sport and you shake hands and sometimes you can't be bothered giving a firm one. Sakkari, producer, it's Sakkari. Apologies.
Sakkari.
Corrections corner. Live
Sakkari.
Corrections corner. Yeah, shaking hands. What's your view on that?
I was going to say, I haven't really had any big sledges like that. But I mean, in any sport, you have the odd elbow here and there. And then the best I've had is people refusing to shake my hand.
So because of actions on the court?
Oh, yeah. But that's pretty common.
So you've gone over to shake their hand?
Yeah.
And they've just blanked it?
Yeah.
This is for mixed netball or for Saturday?
Oh, both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. What in sailing, is there a shaking hands?
Oh, God, I haven't been sailing in years, but No,
No?
not to my
There you go.
awareness. Probably like Olympics and stuff. But
Yeah. Would you? Do you think-
anyway, what about you?
Well, first, do you think nobody likes you as a good sledge?
I think it's the sort of thing that siblings, like
Yeah.
it feels like a sibling sort of sledge, doesn't it?
Because like, how do I know?
Yeah.
Like, they might like you. I don't know why they do, but they might.
It's odd.
Yeah, it's a good
It's
one.
odd.
Yeah, obviously cricket's well known for its sledging. Yes. I like to think I'm quite good at it, but I think sometimes I'm too wordy. Goes over people's heads.
Yeah.
But I've been called a number of things. I was called an imposter once when running drinks because I wasn't wearing shoes. I don't
That's
know.
pretty funny.
Yeah, imposter's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. Like it really.
Did you say anything back?
No, well, I was the imposter. I'm not up to it. Obviously, Italian descent, and in one of my early games, a bowler started talking Italian to me, assuming I would understand, and I didn't. And I've also had someone try to headbutt me.
So was he sledging you in Italian?
I don't know. I couldn't
you don't
understand.
know?
Yeah. I think he was being polite. They were winning. They were going to win. So,
Surely you learn a little bit of basic Italian just to be able to sledge them back.
yeah. But I can swear. Like,
Yeah.
But then you don't want to swear in case he's being nice because then he might tell me nobody likes
But
me.
surely you can tell by the tone.
Yeah, maybe. To be honest, my head was gone. I was about 17. And someone tried to headbutt me.
So in what context does someone try to headbutt you?
Right. So we were playing this team and this fella had shown a bit of disrespect towards my level of ability and he was wearing a representative helmet or kit, but it definitely wasn't his. And that's just not the done thing. And I commented on that.
Yeah.
And then he played and missed the ball and we had an altercation and he said something. I said something. He said, say it to my face. So I did. And then he walked down the pitch and feigned to headbutt me.
Shit.
But didn't get me, luckily. But a couple of my teammates came in to help because if it went to fisticuffs, he would have had me.
So he's playing local cricket wearing a rep cricket.
Yeah. Oh, no.
That's a bit.
Yeah. And it wasn't his either. Like there was no way. It was like a
his.
national team helmet. So it was a Sri Lanka helmet. And there was just no way he'd played for Sri Lanka. And I was just pointing that out to him. And he didn't take kindly to it.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, we've had some listener DMs. Take us through those.
It's all right. So we got Georgia. She plays in the South Australian Premier League. And the best one she's ever heard is, I hope you're not a carpenter if that's what you think 3 feet is up. I like that one. That's good. That's clever. No one's being strongly offended. Brings in some trade stuff. I enjoy it.
Yeah, we respect a clever sledge.
Yeah, absolutely. This one's not as clever. This is from Rose. She plays in wing defence. And she said, the best thing to hear as a wing defence is, will you get the fuck off me? That's less of a sledge and more of a respect thing.
I love this one because I think that, and as we know, I love the stats, and I don't think there is really a good stat for a wing defence, like to actually measure the impact that a wing defence has had on the game, other than the wing attack not being able to achieve metrics.
Well, and that's the goal, isn't it, of the wing defence? To annoy the wing attack or whoever you're playing with, to basically, you're going to nullify them to the point where they tell you to fuck off.
Yeah, like you want to just take the wing attack out of action.
Yeah.
So
do you
love that.
Do you think like net points wise? So half time, Parmenter comes off and says, by the way, Georgie Hodges told me to fuck off 3 times.
Yeah.
Boost them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this is where like the net points system is so
what is it?
Controversial, I suppose, because it doesn't really measure like a true wing defence net point.
They can't, like, all the points are given for, like, assists and stuff. You can't get them.
Yeah. Like, they should be able to measure if the wing attack hasn't gotten net points, that should then boost up the wing defence's net points.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I mean?
Like there's only an available amount.
Yeah, like there's correlation.
If the wing attack doesn't get that many, the rest go to the wing defence.
Yeah.
I like it. We've got a note here from producer X. Your goal is to make, this is the wing defence's goal, is to make the team play with, the other team play with 6 pretty much. Yeah. And Ash Braz used to make Nat Metcalf redundant. I pronounced that correctly? I'm getting nods. That's good.
Metcalf, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And the last one comes from Erin. She gave her opponent some helpful advice after they were giving away repeat offensive contacts. And she told me, don't tell me how to fucking play netball, which is a good one.
Added the
I've added fucking. I like it. It's just a bit of colour. Bit of emphasis. I like that one.
I kind of get it though. Like there's nothing worse than, not that it's really happened to me, but like an opponent trying to tell you how to play.
But you don't know me.
Yeah, like you don't know me.
You're not my mum.
Yeah.
Exactly. There you go. Let us know, though, of course, if you've had any more sledges. I'd say more sledging. There has to be more sledging as well in netball, but I think everyone keeps pretty hush on it. Like
I'd love to know because I feel like there'd have to be more beef, but they play it on when they're on broadcast.
Yeah. It's a very clean
it's all
sport.
Smiley and
there's skeletons
high
under
fives.
there. There's skeletons under there at all. Well, speaking of skeletons, let's get into some big topics here. Sporting conspiracy theories. Now, people at home watching may have noticed that I've had a haircut. It was overgrown. It was like a woolly sheep the last few weeks. I went in to see my hairdresser and I said, give me the Adam Chera, and he did that.
You're kidding.
I didn't actually say that, but anyway. And we'll discuss, because obviously hairdressers, and I assume my hair appointments only go for about half an hour. I'm assuming yours on occasion go for quite longer. Hairdressers have the gift of the gab, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
They've got to be good at listening to stories. They've got to be good at telling stories, you know. And my hairdresser was talking about how he loves conspiracy theories. And not just in terms of, he doesn't believe most of them, but he enjoys listening to people show they're working out. Because often conspiracy theories, there's a bit of left brain thinking, left field thinking involved. So it got me thinking, what are some sporting conspiracy theories out there?
Well, my favourite is the Harry and Ben Mackay conspiracy theory. Right. Were you across this?
I was sort of semi-across it, but for people at home, they might not be.
Yeah, it went on for years because obviously Harry Mackay plays for Carlton and then Ben Mackay currently plays for Essendon but was at North.
Correct.
And for years, I think it was, we'll find the year.
Yeah.
For many years, the two of them never played against each other. And so their teams would come up against each other, but one would be injured or there'd be some reason as to why they're both not playing, one's not selected. And so footy fans had a massive conspiracy theory that maybe there was only one Mackay.
I like that one because there's no evidence to disprove it other than the fact that
they've played against each other now though, I believe.
Yeah. And they probably at points played games on the same day in different states.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably. But I like that one. It's a bit of fun. You've got another conspiracy theory that's netball related.
Oh, my conspiracy theory. I have a conspiracy theory that I'd like to put forward that...
I don't know if it meets conspiracy, but go on.
No, but we'll put it to the people and they can decide. I think that any person who grew up in Melbourne...
Yeah, eastern suburbs?
No, I'm going all Melbourne. Within our age bracket, so sort of late 20s.
22,
Late 20s. Every single person who grew up in Melbourne, late 20s, has a connection to Joe Weston.
To Melbourne Vixen star, Joe Weston.
Australian Diamond superstar.
Exactly. Origin Energy superstar, Joe Weston.
Because the amount of social context that I've been in where it's Super Netball or Elite Netball has come up in conversation. And a lot of people will say, oh, yeah, I used to play netball with Joe Weston. Oh, yeah, I know Joe Weston. Yeah. Or I did this, or I blah, blah, blah.
So is that a conspiracy theory or just a testament to Joe's brand?
I don't know. Maybe I'm not sure, but let me test it right now, Matt. You got a connection to Joe?
Well, Joe and I live just mere streets away.
There you go.
Mere streets away.
Well, there you go. My conspiracy theory has been proven.
That's the end of that one.
Yeah.
Let us know if you have a connection to Joe Weston. We want to test this theory out in real life. Obviously, we couldn't stop there. We had to do some more digging. This is a conspiracy theory of people in the United States that the NFL...
I love this one.
So the National Football League, they wanted to get new audiences. They wanted to get out of just this sort of mainly male audience. They wanted to enter maybe a sort of more pop culture, girly pop sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a conspiracy theory out there that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, that their relationship is purely orchestrated by the National Football League.
And it's just like a massive content deal.
Yeah, marketing ploy.
Yeah, marketing ploy.
You on board with it? I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't think it's true. I'd like to be skeptical because we all love right? And they seem quite happy together. Yeah. But it would make a lot of sense because for both brands, as in Taylor Swift's brand and the NFL, growth audiences
I think the NFL report, there was heaps of reports last year, or maybe the year before when they won the Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the number of audience, they made Taylor Swift their profile picture.
Yeah,
the NFL did
you're right.
On X. It's a caveat here. I don't think we believe any of these conspiracy theories. But, except the Joe Weston one.
I believe the Joe Weston one.
Well, that's proven. We've proven that one.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't, if it came out 20 years later, wouldn't be shocked.
No, I wouldn't be shocked either. And then can I give you a late submission?
Yeah, go on.
Somebody sent me one earlier. I was out to my network. Where's the best sporting conspiracy?
Do you know Joe Weston?
Do you know Joe Weston and what's your best sporting conspiracy theory? Yeah. And my mate Jack sent across, have you heard of Brian Colangelo and the Philadelphia 76ers?
I've heard of them. I've not heard of Brian.
Yeah, so look, I'm just going to plant the seed and you can go off and do your own research. But there was a conspiracy theory that came true, was proven, that he had a whole lot of burner accounts that he was using to criticize NBA players publicly.
Other NBA players.
But from his team as well.
Yeah.
He was also using these burner accounts to publicly debate decisions of his own coaching staff and critique former GMs and executives. Yeah. And long story short, there was a conspiracy about it because they were trying to set up some AI system which noticed that there was a similar language being used across these burner accounts.
Like the equivalent of like checking handwriting.
Yeah, exactly. And they discovered that there was all these similarities, and then they've looked into it and discovered that it was actually him. And when when the suspicions arose, he resigned because of it.
Fuck, there you go.
It was true.
So that's an actual theory.
That's a real conspiracy theory that's come true.
So that's like the equivalent of like Statues McMahon just creating a couple of burners and just critiquing, Kate Eddy.
Oh, it has to happen.
Yeah.
Not with Statues McMahon and
Statues
Kate Eddy.
wouldn't
no
do
one's
that.
critiquing Kate Eddy.
No. Well,
why would you? What is there to critique?
Exactly. I like it. We'll do a couple more and then we'll try to figure out one we think can help netball's
You've
brand.
got one.
Yeah, I do have
South
one.
Korea.
Right. So 2002 World Cup, FIFA World Cup, it was in South Korea and Japan. And South Korea made the semi-finals under Gus Hiddink. And there's a conspiracy theory that FIFA pretty much bribed the referees. Now, bribing referees in soccer is pretty common.
Okay.
They're saying they influenced the referees to make sure South Korea had a really good run because they wanted to grow the game in the Asian market. So their theory was if South Korea and Japan bombed out in the group stage, it'd be a flop. And they really wanted to grow the game in that area. And there's a very, very controversial game that the Italian community is still angry about because in their quarterfinal, they lost 2-1 and they have 10 or 11 instances in the match where they think the referee blatantly cheated.
Wow.
And 23 years later, they've won World Cups, they've won the European Championship since then. They're still angry about that. But it worked because Asia loves football. Not that they didn't before, but there you go. There's another one here that ESPN is run and paid for by Lionel Messi's father.
That's taking the piss.
Well, I like this conspiracy theory for the fact that it's so out there. Like, why would Messi need ESPN on his side?
Yeah, true. He's already the greatest.
Yeah, like what's the point?
Yeah.
And then speaking of people that are the greatest of their sport, Michael Jordan. So obviously Michael Jordan, well known.
Yeah.
He quit the Chicago Bulls for 2 years.
Yeah.
Went and played minor league baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Apparently he loved baseball more as a kid.
Was he any good at it?
Well, minor leagues is pretty good. It's like the VFL. Yeah. But also like he's Michael Jordan, so he might have a leg up.
Yeah, anyway.
But the conspiracy theory is that he actually left because he was going to be suspended for gambling. Which is believable.
See, I was looking into this one and I think that could be true because at the time gambling was a much bigger issue.
Well, gambling is always big.
Yeah.
In elite sport, there's a lot of this that will probably come out in time. But there you go. That's another theory.
There you go.
But netball needs one, doesn't it? Along the lines of a Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce one, maybe.
We need a conspiracy theory in netball.
So what market do we want to get into? Yeah. And how do we get there? That's what we need people to know. Maybe we ask the listeners for a few. Do we need a netballer to start dating some sort of musician?
Yeah, that could be good. Who are we targeting?
I'm as a 22-year-old.
Let's put it out to the backcourt listeners and they can come back to us with their best conspiracy theories.
Absolutely. There was an ad last night where the Hemsworth brothers, one of them, I honestly don't know which one's which. One of them's standing in a mirror and he's like staring at himself. And there's writing in French at the top of the mirror. And then the next one walks in wearing Ray-Bans and he asks his Meta Ray-Bans to translate the thing. Meta have got AI Ray-Bans.
That's cool.
Is it? Do we need them?
Yeah.
What are you using them for? I've never walked around and thought, if only I could just, I guess I have thought it occasionally.
Oh, he looks all right in it too.
Well, he's a Hemsworth, isn't he? Like, this is a blooper.
We
can use this as a blooper. I don't know if this will make the final cut, but
he's in a art.
Yeah, he's in a museum, and there's a French saying up the top, and it's like, which one of you is real? This is a different ad. Maybe you've got the long form ad.
Yeah. Anyway, cool. There is another Hemsworth brother, so he could
one.
Perhaps date.
Yeah,
there's
Diamond. A third Hemsworth. We went through a few celebrities, but I guess we're like, is it Troye Sivan? Well, he's gay, isn't he?
Or maybe we should start sending
Kid Leroy, but he's dating Tate McRae.
Yep. I think we just need to get Super Netball players on more reality TV shows, personally.
Oh, that's it.
I'm a big,
That's happening. I'll bet you. Staying in the world of netball, Liv. Now, this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is legit. This is happening. World Netball. We love World Netball on this podcast. We love everything they do. They always nail it. I don't think they've done anything at any point in time where I can go, that was poor.
Yeah, right.
So they've decided to have a Netball World Cup every second year, as well as introducing a Men's World Cup and also a plan to launch a new biennial event in November 2028. Now, that basically, which will take place in non-Netball World Cup years. So basically, there will be a World Netball event every year from 2027. So my understanding is they're just going to have 3 World Cups.
Which I don't know. I can see what they're trying to do because for netball to increase its prominence, there needs to be more of it, right? But does it reduce the magic of a World Cup if you have
one every year? Yeah. That's my initial thought. Like, how are they going to do these other events? Because unless they do events where like the top 4 don't play or something like that, but then you want your big teams playing.
Yeah.
It seems, I think basically this is a reaction to the rumour that the netball's place at the Commonwealth Games might be under threat. So there was rumours that it wouldn't get up for 2026 or that the Com Games itself wouldn't get up for 2026. And they've decided to respond to this. But yeah, I agree with you. The tendency there is it too much netball? Can you have too much netball?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be cool if they just worked a little bit closer with like the Pacific Oz Sports Tournament because that tournament like last year or this year, earlier this year.
Yeah, well that happened. I think that happened yearly, yeah.
Yeah, that was like incredible watching
Tonga, Fiji,
and
Samoa.
Like it's such a celebration of culture and some of these lower tier. So perhaps they could meet in the middle and just sort of include more teams. I don't know.
Yeah, to be honest, it just sounds like they're just going to do a World Cup every second year and then the other years they're going to do a World Cup but not call it a World Cup, which happens in other sports like the cricket do the Champions Trophy, which is just a World Cup but like not a World Cup. So, look, let us know what you think. The only other question I had was, can they organise a yearly event? I guess it's rinse and repeat.
They can do whatever they want.
But yeah, they are World Netball, the superpower.
They are World Netball.
But yeah, there you go. Let us know
it is
what
interesting,
you think.
Because like international test tournaments are kind of feel the same.
Maybe they'll do like best of 3 games between like, they would do quad series but like best of 3s and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
They've opened a can of worms, have World Netball.
Massive can of worms.
You love cans of worms as well.
Do
you
I?
often open them, including Elite Ginger Chat last week.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But we'd love to hear from the old backcourt.
We always love to hear from the backcourters.
Tell us what you think.
All right, we're going to get into some netty news. All right, netty news time here on the backcourt. Now, just overall, Liv, it was a very physical weekend of netball.
Wasn't it? Some tight matches.
Tight matches and a lot of players hitting the deck hard.
Yes.
Now, are you pro players hitting the deck hard or anti?
I'm anti the highlights where they only show the players hitting the deck rather than like the massive intercepts. Have you noticed this before?
On broadcast?
On socials and broadcast, I've noticed that a lot of the highlight reels will be like bang, 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 just showing like people hitting the deck rather than like, and not always including the.
Do you think it's like a chip on the shoulder thing? A chip on the shoulder thing about not being like, because often the big thing is like whenever a big collision occurs, and I think the Mavericks did it last week, that it's there. Everyone's very quick to put up a social highlight of being like netball's not a non-contact sport.
Yeah.
Like, do you think it's a bit of a chip on the shoulder thing there?
I think it is a little bit, yeah.
But like people are desperate to prove that it's a contact sport.
Yeah, show us the
it's an insecurity, isn't it?
Anyway, yeah, I think we've sort of diverted. But
yeah. No, that was good. Right. It was a physical weekend. But look, more on the Mavericks now. They had a big win. They rolled the Swifts. We'll get into the Swifts' worries in a little bit. But 4-goal win. They were down 8-1 early in the first quarter. And I was watching at home post Canterbury Cobras win and thought to myself, this is going to be a bloodbath. Swifts are going to absolutely slice and dice them here.
Not to be.
But no, not to be at all. The Mavericks from there on controlled the game. We just got to give, before we get into the things on the fringes of the match, Dressie Grenvold, she's been unbelievable this year as the 11th player. She had another great game.
Yeah, 2 intercepts, defensive rebound.
Yeah, all over it. And she was playing on Grace Wecky, and obviously she's giving away 8 centimetres there, but you wouldn't have known it, which just shows maybe height is overrated.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I'm jumping the gun a little bit here, but do you think that teams are just getting better at playing on her?
Yeah, a little bit.
In Grace Wecky.
Yeah, definitely. Well, obviously, like you play someone once, because there would have only been a handful of players that would have played on it, because it would have been the Diamonds defenders, and they all play for like 2 teams. They play for the Vixens and Swifts. So only really one team had any idea against playing against her. So yeah, they probably had a look, but I also think that the Swifts like are too reliant on her. And we can go in depth on it if you like. Yeah. But they lack creativity in the mid-court. They've got a lot of good defensive mid-quarters, and then that means Housby has to be a bit more of a playmaker.
Well, yeah, because like Housby only shot 7 points, so 2 super shots and 5 goals, which like if you were to compare that to the sort of numbers she was putting up last year, it's interesting to see, obviously, we keep coming back to the same conclusion, with one player coming into the team in Grace Wecky, it's really changed the way that they play, but they almost need to be able to pivot back into that other style of play where required. And I think that's where they're probably letting themselves down a little bit.
Yeah, because Housby was 2 years ago, almost won Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Obviously was big in the grand finals, sorry. But yeah, you're right. Like she's not shooting enough. And every time you watch their games, they go to the coach and Bryony's like, yeah, I've told her I want her to be more prominent in the circle at all times. Because obviously super shot time, she comes into her own. Yeah, I think maybe that like the mid-court, because maybe it's sort of Paige Hudley or bust in front, that she feels the need to sort of go out and help, and that leaves Grace by herself, which makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, she's still making a massive impact, but she's just not as relied upon for getting the goals up, which is just, it's interesting. And it's like, I don't know, I like seeing teams try things that are different, but they've got to be able to sort of revert back when required.
Well, they might need to change it because lost 3-4. And of course, maybe there's a solution for Helen. Embrace the ginge.
Exactly. We said it last week. Do you think she heard us?
Look, I don't know. We haven't had any lawyers come to us
for
disparaging remarks. No, but I think it'd be a really good correlation if Helen were to play the rest of the year as a ginger and if we could correlate her stats. Just see, how was she more damaging? Would she play with more flair? And would it give other young elite gingers confidence to be themselves?
Of course it would.
We'll talk about a couple of things. So the Mavericks, we know that they love doing walkouts differently.
Yeah, this was interesting.
I think they tried it their first game. From memory, last year, their first game, they had players come from different sections of the stands.
Yeah, I think you're right.
From
round
memory.
1.
And they've tried it again. So this weekend was Pride round or Pride game. They had it also was community games. So they had a lot of other, local clubs and teams playing before them. So there's a few more people in the crowd. And they came from the second mezzanine down. And I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to sort of a bit more showmanship to the game.
But so they came instead of the normal run onto the court through the tunnel, they've run down through the crowd, which if you were sitting in the crowd, like there's a girl I follow on Instagram who happened to be sitting right next to the runway. And was like, got to high five Amy Parmenter. Like, so these sorts of people are absolutely
won't wash her
ecstatic.
Hand. Yes.
Won't wash her hand.
Yeah.
But God, it looked awkward.
Yeah, and it's just you've run down. You're a runner. You're more of a marathon though person, aren't you? You're not running downstairs, are you?
I mean, I'm always running late.
Well, exactly. Right. So running downstairs is really hard because you're obviously trying to be quick, but it's not natural to run quickly on stairs. You have to shorten your stride pattern, and it just looked to me like the players were very conscious of tripping over.
Yeah.
And there was also, I think, our man Paddy Q at the back getting content. Yeah. And Unique Pallavi had the selfie stick.
Did she?
So she was running down the stairs at a decent whack with the selfie stick. And it just, like you said, it looked a bit awkward that they, there's got to be different ways they can do the walkout just from the tunnel.
Yeah. It's nice to see them doing something different, but didn't quite land for me. But it might have been one of those things that doesn't land as well on broadcast, but in stadium, it could have felt electric.
And just another thing before we move on. So obviously we mentioned Bryony. She's getting angry now.
Yeah, she was agitated.
She was fuming. So I think when they lost to the Fever, hands up, Fever are good. They're ruthless. West Coast Fowler, not losing, right? All good. When they lost to the Vixens, she was a little shitty, but they almost pinched it. Vixens at home, all good. Doesn't matter. Then they had the wobble against the Giants, got back over the line and thought, right, maybe we've steadied the ship. But to give up a 7-goal lead to the Mavericks who are out of the running.
Yeah.
She was fuming at the end of the game, steam coming out of her ears, she pretending that she doesn't care. So she storms over at the end of the game to just get the handshake, as we mentioned right at the top.
Yeah.
She wants to get out of the way. Now, Tracy never refused the handshake, but not due to rudeness. She was so excited at her team's performance and had just been hugging Nicole Richardson. She embraced Bryony Akel in one of the biggest hugs I've ever seen. And it was just like a unique sense of alphaing that she'd ignored the handshake and was so overjoyed that she thought Bryony would also be happy for her.
Bear hug.
Yeah, I just liked it.
It was funny, wasn't it?
4D chess from Tracy. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's good stuff. She's
one of the best tacticians in the game. So, yes, the Swifts have lost 3 of their last 4 and they've dropped down into second. So, they can't miss finals and they'll likely be top 2, but it's a little bit worrying.
It's funny, isn't it? I saw Dylan Nexhip on Foxtel on Pivot and he was saying...
It's weird. He's the assistant coach, but he's on Pivot every week.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? And then there's talk that maybe he'll get the call up for the Vixens job.
Yeah,
that could be our conspiracy theory.
Well, they keep saying he's going nowhere, but if Statues gives him the call, you're not going to stop him.
Everyone has a number, right?
Everyone's got their price. God knows I do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But Dylan Nexhip was saying that I forgot what I was going with.
That's all right.
With that.
Keep moving on.
We'll move on.
Nexhip. Speaking of the Vixens, They're obviously still looking for a new coach.
Oh, I remember. Sorry,
Okay,
that's not going to work unless I continue with that thought.
Go.
Dylan Nexhip was saying that. Oh no, I've forgotten it again. Oh God. Dylan Nexhip was saying that the Swifts are more comfortable in second. It takes the pressure off them and all this stuff.
Well, that's a good spin. Good
That
PR.
was actually, but I think that is such a
It's a cop out.
It's such a cop out. Like,
Yeah. We actually wanted to lose. Yeah, we didn't want to win.
Surely you'd rather play a home semi-final as well, because that's where I think it makes the most difference in netball is being able to lock in a home ground advantage.
Home court.
Home court advantage. Anyway.
Yeah. So Dylan's gone on pivot and he said, we actually didn't want to win.
Kind of.
We've been losing on purpose.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Well, another team that lost but not on purpose is the Vixens, where Dylan might be coaching next year.
Yeah.
It's all but locked in. Because if someone says that it's not going to happen, it's definitely going to happen. That's my conspiracy theory. So the Vixens lost 53-56 against the Thunderbirds. Thunderbirds were leading early. Vixens got back in front, and then the Thunderbirds were able to overrun them. Did we moz them? Last week we were talking about Vixens fairy tale. I don't think so. We were just saying we like them.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I was a bit nervous because I felt like maybe we jinxed them because we declared that we were on the bandwagon.
And that's our power too.
Yeah. Actually, I'm not calling it a bandwagon because I've been on board the whole time. But you declared that you're on a bandwagon. But I actually think it's a healthy loss for the Vixens.
Yeah.
I think obviously...
Well, they want to be the underdog like the
Yeah, clearly. The Vixens and Thunderbirds have clearly got a bit of a sort of back and forth, and Vixens have been struggling to beat the Thunderbirds, whatever. They're probably going to come... If the Thunderbirds make it into finals, which at the moment they're in the 4, it's likely that they'll come up against each other again. And I think the Vixens probably won't lose to the Thunderbirds twice in a row at John Cain Arena.
Yeah. Well, here's hoping, because that's probably, like you said, that's what it's looking like. The finals look, I think we'll get to the Lightning in a second, but it looks like they're going to miss. And it looks like, because the Vixens have the Firebirds this weekend, so they should lock in the top 3 there. So basically that means that the Thunderbirds will likely have to play at John Cain Arena, but they have, as you mentioned, got the wood over them. They've beaten the Vixens 5 times in a row, but 4 of them were at Adelaide Entertainment Centre.
Yeah.
So there's a good toss-up there. Laddie Wilson cramped.
It's funny, isn't it?
I've never, you don't see many netballers cramping.
But then they were interviewing Taylor Fraser? Taylor Williams.
Yeah.
I get them confused.
Taylor Williams.
They were interviewing Taylor Williams after the game, and she was like having a laugh. She was like, apparently it's an inside joke in the team that Laddie just is always cramping and she's so dramatic
Maybe
about
she doesn't
it.
hydrate well enough.
Yeah, she needs to get on the pickle juice.
The pickle juice, Super Boost, whoever wants to sponsor us, we'll talk about their product.
Laddie.
Both.
She's the one that needs it.
Well, Laddie's actually, I don't know if you follow Laddie, she's been trying to hit a certain amount of followers on Instagram. I'll just quickly check.
And she's out there declaring it.
So she was posting, this is maybe like a month or so ago. She really wanted to hit a certain number. I'm just going to, this is live. This is live. So Laddie Wilson, Latanya Wilson, 22. Yeah, she got there. She's just past 10K. But she was really wanted to go to 10K and was just every day in the gym with the Thunderbirds filming. Just girls doing standing row, chest press. Georgie Horges can lift more than Matilda Garrett sort of stuff. Obviously small hands. It makes it harder to lift.
I wonder how much her life has changed since she hit 10K followers.
Well, sports products need to get involved with her. That's 10,000 people. Touch of a button. I didn't click very well.
Yep.
There you go.
A lot of people.
Do you think no shit Nat all right that Latanya Wilson's good at netball? She dominated
probably.
Again. Yeah.
Good at netball, but occasional cramp.
Yeah. Well, we all cramp. Cramp is very embarrassing though, especially at this stage of the season. But nonetheless, Thunderbirds, really important win for them because they got into the 4 and they've heaped the pressure on the Lightning. We'll get to in a second, but we're going to go to Nissan Arena where the Firebirds lost to the Giants. To be honest, it looked like they might steal their 3rd win of the year, the Firebirds. But in the end, the Giants were able to get up for Joe Harden's 200th, got their 4th win of the year. The Firebirds have lost 10 in a row.
Yeah.
There wasn't much energy in the crowd at Nissan Arena. They still sort of get a big crowd. Well, they fill it out. It's not a big stadium. But yeah.
And I think the Firebirds faithful, they've got a decent fan base. But I don't know, what do you reckon you do? I saw Kiri Willis obviously re-signed this week.
Yeah, a couple of weeks. Yeah.
What do you do with that list?
Yeah, well, look, it's a very interesting one because I'd say Kiri's probably one of the first coaches in any sport where she was signed pretty much after the whole list was already locked in.
Yeah.
So they had all the players and they're probably playing it all set up for a different game plan. Yeah. And then they signed a coach. So her game plan might not be suited to these players. So I reckon I don't know enough about who's on contract, who's off contract, but that'll be the thing. I reckon there could be a few culls.
Yeah, because netball is so secretive about contract lengths and stuff. But
even injuries.
Yeah.
People get injured and they just describe the whole someone's got a leg injury.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. I noticed that all of the intercepts from the Firebirds in their game on the weekend came out of the mid-court.
Right, really?
Yeah, with Allison, Gardner and Dunkley.
Allison's been good, and Cholok will be good. Like, it's pretty hard for her, playing in the UK league to then come to the best league in the world and playing a team that's on the bottom. Like, it's pretty hard for her.
Yeah.
So,
it's tough.
It will be very interesting to see what the Firebirds do over the season. They are desperate for these 2 weeks to be over and just fucking forget about it, put the feet up for a month. But the Giants, they'll actually want the season to keep going. I think last year Julie said she wanted a third round of fixtures because they hit their straps late. So maybe they should think about hitting their straps earlier.
They should think about it.
Yeah, they should. Hey,
simple solve.
Look, I'm not going to say I'm a better coach than Julie Fitzgerald, but I'm just putting it out there. But it was Joe Harden's 200th. It's a fantastic achievement for Joe. They put up a post and we repurposed it on social media. They asked each of the players what they were doing when Joe debuted.
Yeah, I loved
Hope
this.
White wasn't born.
So funny.
How fucking old are we?
So
and we're only 20,
old.
21, and she wasn't born.
How old's Hope White?
Well, she'll be 18, I think. I think she's just turned
She'd have to
18.
be.
So 2007. When did you realise, and we're not old, but like when did you realise, because as a kid growing up, whenever I watched sport on the TV, I always just immediately assumed the players were older than me.
Yeah.
And because they were, obviously.
I think
When did you realise that like, oh shit, I'm older than that person that I'm saying can't kick?
probably like kids younger than me like getting
Drafted or something.
drafted.
Yeah.
Like Matt Rowell getting drafted.
Well, yeah, because he was your age, wasn't he? Or
No,
just
he was
younger?
like a few years younger than me.
Yeah.
Like went to the same primary school.
And now he's like rusted on 100 games.
Yeah.
For me, it was like Bont being a veteran. Like obviously he was Bont's 250 last week. And there was all this stuff about, X amount of years, what a leader. And he's like a year younger than me.
Yeah.
But if I was to meet him, I would call him sir.
Yeah.
And I would definitely think he's like 10 years older than me.
You been to his cafe yet?
I have Arthur's Milk Bar. Just for coffee. The food does look good.
It does.
It's
Like
very
an American.
like American. I think his partner's Canadian.
Oh, nice.
It's pumping though.
Yeah.
Obviously when you're the Bont,
I know.
I don't think you have to spend much on marketing
So funny, isn't
when
it?
you're one of the greatest footballers ever. But yeah, producer X put a note in here saying 20 at the beginning of elite athletes' birth years in their player bios. So
Does that mean like 20
as
or in their
2000,
20s?
Like 2000. So
Yeah.
the 20. Yeah. Well, if they're in their 20s, that's also another thing. But obviously I'm 1994.
Yeah. I'm not declaring my age.
Keep your cards close to your chest. Let us know when you thought or found out you were old. I think as well it's too like when you like hear of musicians or like trends and stuff, you're like, over my head.
Yeah.
But there we go. Last game that we're going to talk about was the first game. It was the Lightning and the Fever. The Fever won by a lot. That's 10 in a row for them. They announced on broadcast that it was the first time anyone's won 10 in a row and that's in the Super Netball. And then they quickly had to retract that because apparently the Thunderbirds did it last year. No one knew. So good way for the Thunderbirds last year and one on the Fever this year. They're now on top. It was a really tough watch because the Fever, like from the first whistle, just dominated.
Yeah. They're firing. So it's going to be interesting to see if anybody can beat them because
they're like boring good too. Like it's not like when this like when some teams are like when they're good, it's like fuck, this is cool. And like, but when the Fever are good, it's like yep, good defending. Pass it to Janelle.
I'd actually argue that they're more consistently good than like the Vixens last week when we were saying that they're the Geelong of the league.
Yeah,
I think the Fever they are consistently good, but then
they're ruthless.
Just comes back to Janelle. I think that's what makes it a little bit. You said the boring word. I think that's where you get a little bit bored. But then, like, you can't argue with like Alice Teague-Neal's numbers and stuff. Like,
no,
their mid-court.
Alice in Wonderland. You see that in the what's the paper called
West
out there?
Australian.
Yeah, they did that. That's the editor. You reckon how long that took them to figure that one?
There you go. But I think I think their mid-court is probably the strongest in the league.
Yeah. That's a pretty good call. You could argue maybe the Vixens, but
it's
Mundy's
funny though,
out.
Because
so,
Mundy's out but then I actually wondered about the Mavs mid-court because when they're firing, you've got like Jovic, Parmenter and Taylor Fraser.
Yeah. I would argue
that Palmy and Jovic combo.
Yeah, that's very good. I think each team has two really good mid-quarters.
Yeah.
And it's the third one that's like the deciding factor, which is why the Vixens, when Mundy's playing, you got Eddie, Maloney, Mundy.
Yeah.
And then the Fever as well, you've got Anstis, Ransberg, Teague-Neal, and then if they want, they could play Sunday in wing defence and move Anstis in the centre. So that's probably the point of difference is the Fever's depth in the mid-court.
Yeah. The engine room.
Well, exactly. And that's where games are won and lost.
Yeah.
In the engine room.
I think that's the big call, but I think this season will be decided by the mid-court. I think that's where teams are, like when you look at the Swifts.
So you're saying Vixens Fever final? That's what you're saying.
Possibly, yeah. I think.
At Rod Laver.
Yeah. How good would that be?
Be very good. So, Producer X's topic, the team with the best
Move
defensive midcourt will win.
Defensive with midcourt.
Well,
Which would be the Vixens. Yeah.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show.
I don't
Kate
think she follows the show. That's where the friendship starts. Yeah. Well, as soon as producer leave. But look, just a quick thing on the Lightning. I reckon, here's my conspiracy theory. Well, it's not even a conspiracy theory. I think Cara Conan's done for the season. So they had a replacement player. So the week before it was Emma Barry, who I believe is Scottish. Yes, I'm getting nods from Producer X.
Was she already in Australia?
Well, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
So I think she was playing a state league netball in Queensland. So then Barry wasn't the temporary place played this week. It was Jane Cook, who is infamous. Infamous is a bad word. She's well known in Victoria because she's like 6 foot 100 and scores 1,000 goals each year for City West Falcons in the VNL. So that means they've got a player from Victoria to come to the Sunshine Coast. Now, you're not doing that for 1 week.
No, you're not.
So I think Cara is done for the year, and I'm pretty sure Cara posted something fairly cryptic on Instagram about missing work with besties and stuff. So
yeah, right.
Which is not good news for the Lightning.
Did Jane get on court?
No, she didn't.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And that's fairly common the first game. Like, you know, if she's only just flown up there, it'd be pretty hard to throw her straight into it, especially against a team like the Fever. But
and hard to crack into that goaling combo either, like Riley and Steph.
Yeah. So, but they are missing someone who's just really tall you can just lob it to, like at the other end in that game. So, yeah, that's a watch on that. The Lightning are out of the top 4 and they've got 2 very tough games. So we're going to look ahead to the tips. Now, here's 2 teams that desperately need a win. Swifts and Lightning.
Swifts and Lightning.
5 o'clock game, Saturday at Ken Rosewall Arena.
I think the Swifts will come good.
Yeah. People have sort of forgotten HK went to Jamaica and I've sort of jumped off the Lightning bandwagon a tiny bit. Yeah, I think you can't go past them. The Lightning, it just looks like, we've talked about head wobbles. They were nowhere near it. Yeah, they looked, and even like Steph Fretwell looked pretty emotional after the game, so I hope everything's well there. But like, I think it's really hit them between the eyes. They've thrown a chance away. Thunderbirds and Mavericks. Could the Mavs throw another cat amongst the pigeons?
I want the fairy tale to continue for the Mavs, but I threw too many tips away last week because I was going with the teams I liked. Rather than
I beat Hannah, so I was happy.
So I'm going with the Thunderbirds because they will win that game at home.
Yeah, I agree. And they need to win it because if they can win that and the Swifts beat the Lightning, they'll be almost guaranteed finals because the percentage and so on. Yeah. But the Mavs ball, it's up and about.
We love a bit of Mavs
Where
ball.
will they enter from? Could they be sort of thrown? You can jump not that far.
At an away game.
At an away game.
They'll enter via the Woolshed.
Yeah, they might. They might come straight from the Woolshed on Hindley. What a pub. The Vixens and Firebirds. Vixens will win that. Firebirds, it's a tough couple of weeks to finish off here for the girls in purple.
Vixens will be back.
Yeah, they want to win to lock in that home minor semi-final.
Which will be on my birthday. How good.
You've buried the lead there.
I know. How good. So if the Vixens are listening and they want to give me a birthday party courtside at the Vixens.
I'm in.
Yeah, great.
I'm in. Couple of champers. Celebrate Numo. Some good netball. What more could you want?
Go Vixens.
Go Vixens. Yes. Choo-choo. Fever and the Giants is the last game. Giants playing good netball, but West Coast Fowler do not lose. They're going for a record 11 in a row.
So we're going with all the same tips.
It. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We'll stop counting them because I beat Hannah.
Yeah,
and that's all that mattered. Okay, that's the show, Liv. Time flies when you are having fun.
There you go. Now we're 3 episodes in.
We are.
So I am almost halfway through my replacement, my temporary replacement contract.
Yeah, you're really, really happy to be here, counting down the days. So just to remember, of course, Thursday night pub trivia, the week of the grand final at the Royal Saxon. Backcourt are hosting it. There'll be plenty of fun, plenty of prizes, some special guests, beers, palmers, everything you want. On a Thursday as well. Friends of the show might be there. Some of the aforementioned ones, maybe other friends of the show. Who knows? And of course, if you want to review and rate the podcast, please do that. It helps us, helps everyone involved. And if you've got any stories or conspiracy theories, just let us know. Slide in the DMs.
Send us an email.
Send us an email. Liv's got the email running. Wants an email.
I forget to check it quite often. But,
but we will remember to check it if you send us one. If that's all business, that's another one in the can. It's been the Backcourt. We'll see you next time.